Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you for the first time in what feels like a long time. I hope you all had a great Christmas and lots of good fun festivities, and it wasn't all ruined too much by the pandemic and what's going on. I'm back now and I'm here. I've missed 3 wins, loads of goals, not many goals conceded, so all that worry beforehand about my record when not being at games gone straight out the window, and should stay away more often, I think, considering the amount of goals Arsenal are suddenly scoring in my absence. Like I said, I hope you've all had a great few days, a great week, great Christmas and all that, and you've been able to enjoy Arsenal winning games very, very handsomely. Thanks to all the messages I got on social media over Christmas period. I had a very nice time. Thank you very much. I had a great holiday. Saw a few of you actually while I was on holiday who bumped into you roundabout in Centre Parks where I was with my family as well, and some of you came up and said hello and how much you enjoyed the channel, so appreciate that. And back with a bang today with the news that Mikel Arteta is out of action. Will not be on the touchline for Arsenal's game against Manchester City on New Year's Day because he has tested positive for coronavirus today. Arsenal have released that statement today, very brief statement, which just is basically saying exactly that. I'll read it to you right now, but it's just a couple of lines. Just says, Mikel Arteta will miss our match against Manchester City on New Year's Day after testing positive for COVID-19. Mikel is isolated in line with government guidelines and we wish him well. This is obviously the second time now that Mikel Arteta has tested positive coronavirus. He started way back at the very start of the pandemic, pretty much the first big name in football to do so, and it was what plunged football into lockdown all those years, 2 years ago, whatever it was. And we obviously all, like Arsenal saying that statement, we all wish Mikel Arteta well. At the moment, apparently he's just having mild symptoms. He is due to face the press tomorrow. That was going to be a online, usual Zoom press conference. He was going to be at London Colney. Clearly, he's not going to be at Colney now, but it seems like he is still going to be the person doing that press conference as it stands. Arsenal saying he will be doing it remotely, so clearly not too affected too much by COVID, which is great news, and we will be speaking to him tomorrow. It'll be very interesting to see what he's got to say. He'll be very disappointed, I'm sure, to miss the game against Manchester City, to miss going up against Pep Guardiola. So Albert Stuyvenberg, however you pronounce it, will be in charge for Arsenal. You'd imagine Mikel, in the way that modern technology works, he might well be feeding straight into Albert's AirPods that we all know that he has, could possibly be shouting instructions straight down from wherever he is at home to Stuyvenberg, who'll be able to pass that on to the players. But you do feel like it's going to be a big miss for Arsenal, because we all know Mikel, he's not just a manager. I mean, he's very much a coach as well. You see him on the touchline, he constantly talks his players through games for 90 minutes, so not being on the touchline, you feel like that is going to be a bit of a blow to Arsenal in a game where Arteta would usually be bang constantly giving them instructions against this Manchester City team, who are just all conquering at the moment, winning games left, right and centre. Got a chance to go 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League because of in fact, I think they can be 12 points clear by the time Liverpool next play after Liverpool's defeat at Leicester last night. Arsenal victory against Man City will take them to within 9 points to the top of the table. Would they technically be in the title race? Should that happen? You'd have to say if Liverpool are still being considered in the title race, then surely Arsenal would as well. But hey, we'll have to wait and see that. I don't think any of us really believe Arsenal are in a title race. It doesn't look like anyone's in a title race at the moment because Manchester City are cruising towards the title. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Arsenal get on in the absence of Mikel for that one. Against a team we all know they struggle against really big time anyway, conceding an awful lot of goals to Manchester City, who love winning at the Emirates, love winning comfortably at the Emirates as well. So it's going to be a really difficult game. But the way Arsenal are going into it, the form they're in, the goals they're scoring, you kind of felt, you never know, they might give this one a really good go. But I do think the loss of Mikel will be a big blow, and we hope it's just, we don't get any more positives, because at the moment we already know Tommy Asu, Callum Chambers, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Cedric Suarez, they've all been out with COVID. You'd imagine, you'd hope they've caught this early when it comes to Mikel Arteta, but if it hasn't, and he wasn't displaying symptoms and they hadn't caught it in time, and he was on the training ground with players yesterday going around. You know what Mikel's like, to have had his arm around them, he'd have been very, very close contact with them all on the training pitch, you would imagine. And you just hope this doesn't turn into a bit of a sort of super spreader type event. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Arsenal will be testing at the moment. It's every couple of days the players will be tested in their cars, then have to wait for the positive or negative results to come through. You'd hope the sort of things they've put in place works and it catches it early, and that stops this totally spreading around and becoming a massive deal at Arsenal, because so far they've escaped relatively well when it comes to COVID compared to certain other teams. But it feels right on the knife edge when it comes to Arsenal at the moment with these 4 cases of the players and now Mikel Arteta. It wouldn't take too much more to this suddenly spread all around London Colney, and then we are in the you sort of start leaning towards the possible postponements and that sort of thing. But as it stands at the moment, Arsenal versus Manchester City absolutely still on for New Year's Day, and we wish Mikel Arteta well. Okay, so as I said, while I was away on holiday, Arsenal did very, very well, didn't they? 4-1 at Leeds, 5-1 in the Cup against Sunderland, 5-0 at Norwich on Boxing Day. What's that? 14 goals in 3 games, just 2 conceded. Some really, really lovely football. Things really beginning to click in terms of the attacking sense for Arsenal. It hasn't always been the case that season. It's taken a bit of time for these players to get used to each other, but right now the front 4, whoever is in that front 4, playing really, really well. Martinelli's been a breath of fresh air since he's come into the team. He's keeping Emil Smith-Rowe out the side, but when Emil Smith-Rowe comes on, he scores a goal. Odegaard been absolutely fantastic. Saka scoring goals, scored a couple against Norwich. And Lacker's playing well up front. I mean, since Aubameyang's gone out the team and out the squad, you have to say Arsenal's performances have just gone in that direction. Numbers of goals scored have gone in that direction, and it's really proven to be a positive move from Mikel Arteta, because that was a big move from him. It could have gone either way. Had Arsenal results started to nosedive, then he would have been under a lot of scrutiny for that decision with Aubameyang. But as it is, Arsenal's trajectory has gone upwards, and you can't really question the manager's decision when that is happening. But it's been really good attacking football. Great to see Arsenal scoring goals and moving forward. And I do think Martin Odegaard in that sort of number 10 role, he's really coming into his own now. I watched the games as much as I could while I was away, and everything's just going through Odegaard at the moment. He's playing really well. He's involved. He's getting, his numbers are going in the right direction. So his goal involvements, he's scoring goals, he's setting up goals. And he's just been an absolute revelation in the last month for Arsenal. And it's taken him a little bit of time. I think we all expected him just to hit the ground running when he came back, given that he had second half of last season on loan here and would have adjusted. Didn't quite happen that way. He even sort of went out of the side, got taken outside for a bit, but since he's come back into the side, he's just been absolutely superb. He's doing things right at the top of the pitch, which is what you want to see. He's getting really involved in and around the penalty area, pulling the strings. Fantastic pass for Kieran Tierney in that Norwich game. Really, really nice. And he's just looking like the player that we all knew he was going to be, I think, after that impressive loan spell last season. And he's still so young, Martin Odegaard. And you just look at that piece of business Arsenal did. I said it at the time when they were getting him done. You can understand why they held on for him throughout last summer, and they turned down the opportunity to possibly go and spend more money elsewhere. We know that they were sort of looking at James Maddison, but Odegaard was always a priority. They got that deal done, and for a really decent price for such an experienced young international captain who's got so much potential, and we're seeing it now. And I was reading some quotes from Mikel about him saying Martin has got tremendous quality and the capacity to unlock situations and put players through to generate open spaces in tight areas. I'm really happy with him, and now he's improving in his goal threat as well. So we have a big player here that is willing to become one of the best, but it's still very early. And I think that's the most exciting thing when it comes to Martin Odegaard, because he's got it all for me. His touch, his quality, his vision. He can score goals. He can set goals up, and that's only going to improve because he's still so young. He feels like he's been around forever because of how young he was when he went to when he went to Real Madrid. But he's still so young, and I just think the potential there for Odegaard to improve is huge. It's vast. It's got such a high ceiling. And what we're seeing at the moment is just a start, really, when it comes to Odegaard, and that's really exciting. And when you sort of when you pair that with the fact you've got Martinelli, Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, all 21 and under, just sort of flying all around him and rotating their positions, and the fluency now that they're all attacking with, and the goal threat that they're providing now as well. I mean, Emil Smith-Rowe, every time he comes on the pitch, he looks like he's going to score. And that's really, really exciting. And that's what you want. And that's why I'm really enjoying this Arsenal team right now, I think. It's been a long time since you actually felt real affection for an Arsenal team, I think. For years, in fact. It's always been like, if you go, I wouldn't really care. But there's loads of players in this Arsenal team. I love Ben White. I love Gabriel. Kieran Tierney, absolutely love him. Tommy Asu, love him. There's so many players in this team now. You want to really get behind and support, and you feel an affection for Saka, Smith-Rowe, the HLM boys. It's really encouraging, and I think that's what you want. You want to be a fan who, and I'm talking as a fan here, not as a reporter, but you want to be a fan who really gets behind the team and has an affection and an affinity towards the players. And that's just been lost at Arsenal, I've found, for an awful long time. I mean, how many players in the last 5-6 years have had their own chant? And I think that just says it all to me. The fans, it's just, you go, you're supporting Arsenal, but there's never really been that bond between fans and players, not for a long time, but it really feels at the moment like there is. And you see that with the fan base. You go to the away games and you hear the chants, and it's the same at the Emirates, where the atmosphere this season I think has been really, really good as well. It just seems like there's a real bond between the fans and the players now, and that's great to see, and it's exactly what you want. Okay, so before I go in today's video, obviously a lot of you have been getting in touch while I've been away. Plenty of you didn't know I was on holiday, and been asking about the transfer window. What are Arsenal going to do? What could happen this month? We're in January. It's still up in the air for me. I'm still not, and I said this before I went away, I'm still not expecting too much business for Arsenal when it comes to transfers. They might. I wouldn't absolutely rule it out, because you never know. Mikel Arteta said it himself when he's asked about it. They're not expecting too much, but if something pops up, an opportunity arises, and they'll look to possibly get something done. And I think that's exactly where we stand. That's just sort of a cliche comment from a manager, but I do think that is where Arsenal stand going into this window. If something suddenly arises and they might be able to get something done, then they will. But I think certainly for them, and in terms of the transfer strategy and the talks that have been going on, they're still very much looking at the summer rather than January, which is wise, to be fair, because that's when you're going to get all your best business done. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, there is a chance he could go. Roma certainly very, very interested in him. Obviously he's got COVID at the moment, which might affect things slightly, but we're not even in January, so that shouldn't be an issue. But certainly from Roma's side of things, this is a player that they're interested in and they're looking to get done, and it is something that Arsenal might well be willing to facilitate once the transfer window opens, and talks are going on around that. A lot of people are looking at that saying, if Arsenal are willing to lose Ainsley, then surely they're going to go out and bring in a central midfielder. I don't necessarily think it's absolutely as a given as that. I think, look, when you look at the minutes Ainsley has played in the first half of the season, it's not much. Yes, Thomas Partey's going. Yes, Mohamed El-Neni's going to AFCON. But even so, I'm still not convinced it's absolutely nailed on that Arsenal will go out and bring in a replacement for Maitland-Niles if he does indeed go. I think they'll certainly look to potentially, you can bring Charlie Coutinho, can get minutes, and what a brilliant moment that was for him, by the way, during the cup game against Sunderland, coming on and scoring his goal. They're going to look to integrate him more between now and the end of the season for next season's, when the real push when it comes to Coutinho in the first team for Arsenal. But you saw he was on the bench against Norwich. Arsenal will look to integrate him more and more as the second half of the season goes. I'm not saying they're going to throw him in to start all the time, but he's a potential option in that midfield. We still don't know what's going to happen with Jack Wilshere. Could that possibly be something that happens in January? We'll have to wait and see on that one. It's all going to come down to what Mikel Arteta thinks he's seen firsthand when it comes to Wilshere. Is there a possibility of a short-term option there? And Arsenal might look to dip into the loan market if possible to cover in midfield, but I just still feel that it's probably more likely this summer that Arsenal are going to look to get to spend some pretty decent money to get in a central midfielder and at least one striker, given what's going on with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who could also potentially be a player who might leave in January if something could be done, potentially on loan until the end of the season with view to a permanent move. So I still think, as we stand now heading towards January, that outgoings are going to be more on the agenda when it comes to Arsenal in the transfer window, but you never know. I wouldn't absolutely sit here right now and rule out Arsenal improving their squad and adding to their squad. And given the position they're in the Premier League, you'd think it's probably going to be wild should they do that. If a really decent opportunity does come up, then you want to strengthen and really kick on now and try and cement your place in the top four, because Arsenal have put themselves in a really, really healthy position going into the second half of the season. And if you can add to your squad and give yourself an extra little bit of strength, then why not do that? And I'm pretty sure Mikel will be putting some pressure on those above him to try and make that happen if an opportunity arises, but it's just never easy in January. It's a horrible market to work in, especially at the moment with COVID. So I don't think it's an absolute foregone conclusion that Arsenal will strengthen their squad, but we'll have to wait and see. Plenty of time, plenty of twists and turns to come in the transfer window, and I'll try and keep you updated if I hear anything more on that as the months progresses. I'm seeing Coutinho linked with Arsenal once again. I think that's one of the absolute things you can set your clock by during a year. Christmas, New Year, birthday, start of the season, Arsenal being linked with Coutinho. It's just ticked off every single time, and I've always said it every single time that it's just one that is an easy link to make. It comes up every single year. You've got the Kia Jarabchin Arsenal link there as well. I've always been told nothing in it. It's not going to happen. We're not interested. It's what I always get told when it comes to Coutinho, and I'd be stunned if that is anything different this time around with these new links that have come about. Why would Arsenal be after Coutinho now? They've got Odegaard, they've got Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Saka. Why would you be going for Coutinho now? It just feels like a really easy link. Link him, put it out there, put Arsenal's name to it, and it will generate plenty of headlines and attract plenty of interest in terms of where exactly Coutinho is going into the January transfer window. But if you want Coutinho at Arsenal, I wouldn't be getting too excited. I have to say, again, it just feels like the annual link between Arsenal and him, and nothing more than speculation. All right, everyone, thank you for your time today. Great to be back. I'll try and do more and more of these to keep you updated of all your latest Arsenal news. Like I said, press conference tomorrow at this moment with Mikel Arteta, despite him missing the New Year's Day game against Manchester City after testing positive for coronavirus. Have a great day, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.